Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
Nancy Stencil of Wausau is a Democratic candidate in the 86th Assembly District. The election is November 6th. Nancy, thank you for talking to WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me.
One of your positions on your website is that there's nothing wrong with asking those who have so much more income to contribute more. Can you flesh that out? Why do you think there's an imbalance here?
Well, I think there's quite the imbalance because people that tend to have more also have more tax breaks in that way.
Okay.
And I think we need to make a level playing field that everybody pays their fair share. Okay. It doesn't mean that they're paying and the rest of us are not.
When you talk about tax breaks, part of that is the context of the tax breaks, tax benefits that may be given to Foxconn if they live up to their promises. And now we have Kimberly Clark wanting tax breaks. The larger question is, when should state government help out private businesses?
Well, I first of all think Foxconn is a huge mistake. We are going to be paying for this for a long time down the road. And the way technology changes, I don't think it's going to be the job creator that they made it out to be. Okay. I think it's going to be more highly tech jobs, not just regular factory type jobs. And I think it's going to cost all of us a lot of money.
What's your position on the plan for Kimberly Clark?
I haven't studied the entire plan, but here we do have a paper company that is embedded in its community, that has done for its community. I think we do need to offer some incentives, and my reasoning for that is because look at how many jobs it would leave behind if it were to have to fold. And we've seen that with one too many paper mills in the state of Wisconsin.
You also say in your campaign website, in terms of the impasse, the gridlock in the Capitol and how we pay for highways, yes. If we need these road projects, we need to pay for them. Well, yes. That poses two questions. Do we need these road projects? And if so, how should we pay for them?
How many of them do we need? It would be a better question.
Okay, how many do we need?
I look at it that so much of our transportation dollars are going down to the southeast corner of the state. And they make bigger, wider roads for truck traffic, which we do need some of that. But meanwhile, up here, you know, we, as the unions have put out their signs, we have Scott holes now. Those transportation dollars are not fairly distributed. And I think they've taken away a lot of the local control. Okay. Whereas, you know, if I've got the Village of Weston, Town of Red Mountain, City of Mosinee, whatever, nobody knows what's better for your community than your community. And they've put it in such a gridlock. And we also have, 22 cents on the dollar that is going and paying for debt.
Debt service.
And do we need to raise the gas tax? It hasn't been raised in a very long time. I could see a nickel increase, but that's not going to be an immediate solution to anything. We do have one state senator that actually took Mr. Walker's last budget and rewrote the entire budget and made it more for the people. And it was tight, but there was actually enough money to properly fund schools, to properly fund roads. I think it's not so much how many dollars we have, but where we prioritize where those dollars go.
The discussion in the Capitol of tolling, your position on highway tolling?
I am against it. I don't really feel tolling is a real tried and true method of making enough money to make it pay.
You talk about local governments. They've been living with levy limits for 14 or 15 years. Right. Those levy limits have controlled property taxes, but some local government leaders say it hurts their ability to provide local services. Do we keep levy limits? Do we loosen them up, or do we get rid of them?
Well, we loosen them up for starters. Okay. When we live in our separate communities, our communities know what we need, and their hands are tied. So we need to do something there as far as that goes. you know, when local schools are having to put referendums out there just to basically keep the lights on, you know, and these referendums are actually passing. People realize the importance of the schools in their area. They're willing to be taxed more for these. But again, I go back to the fact that nobody knows what's best for your community like your local government.
Your website talks about a small business health option. Let's talk about health care. How would that work? Small. You use the term shop.
Right.
How would shop work?
For starters, I do think we needed to accept the expansion money to expand Medicaid.
The federal money to expand.
The federal monies. And I think that would have greatly helped a lot of your smaller businesses as well. They're strapped. Healthcare is extremely expensive. I think we need to really sit down and take a good look at where money is spent in healthcare, why it's not serving the people.
As you campaign, are you hearing from hospitals and nursing homes and other medical professionals that Wisconsin's Medicaid reimbursement rate is
low?
So
it
low?
Is so low.
Do you think we
need to do something?
Do you think we're at a tipping point for that threatens the quality of health care?
I think a lot of people, until they really need it, don't realize it. I do work in the field of mental health, and where we see a huge opioid crisis and continued alcohol drug treatment. Your care looks very, very different if you have money compared to if you don't have money. And I think we need to do something to level that playing field that people can get the care they need. Right now you're seeing so many people will wait until it's absolutely necessary and they go to the emergency room for care. Regardless, it is costing you and I more money when people do this.
Next steps, since you work in this area, next steps to fight methamphetamine, heroin, opioid addiction and abuse in Wisconsin?
Yes, and I think poverty is a huge, huge driver in that. I think if we can reach out and try to help our people, and I'm not saying throw money at it, I'm saying help people up, not out, to help alleviate some of the addiction issues that there are, to make more services readily available.
Mm-hmm. Do we need to raise the minimum wage then to give people more potentially disposable income?
Yes, we do. We need to raise it to a living wage. You know, we've seen so many people that have 2 and 3 jobs. They are totally stressed out. They're still not able to make ends meet. And it's the money they're making is not going as far as what it used to 20 years ago.
Should we have a $15 minimum wage, or should it be different in different regions?
A lot of times we say $15 minimum, but then we also come in with a lot of problems of, I've seen a lot of people that talk to me as I do doors, and they will say, you know, if we do a $15 minimum wage, well, I'm only making $17, and I've worked for this company for 20 years. I think it does need to be a gradual increase in minimum wage, but we need to get those wages up there to where people can sustain without having to rely on services. Regardless if you raise that minimum wage or if you keep it down there and people have to rely on services, you and I are still paying the same amount of money out of our pocket.
Let's go back to health care. There's the state government and Delta Dental have a pilot program that provides dental care to low income in some regions through some regional clinics. Should that remain a priority as we craft the next state?
Dental health is physical health. We all know that. You know, I grew up as a child without dental insurance, and I know what a cavity is. I know what it feels like. And I also know the damage it can do to you physically if it's not taken care of. So your dental health is every bit of as important as immunizations or anything else.
As you campaign, are you hearing about an issue from caregivers? AARP estimates that 578,000 Wisconsin residents who are providing care for family members or neighbors.
Yes.
Would you support laws or rules that require hospitals to recognize and work with caregivers when a loved one is hospitalized?
Yes. We definitely need to expand on that as our population is aging, for one. There are so many family members that are so taxed out. We need to have some kind of services up front where, you know, we can keep these people in their homes if at all possible. And I think caregivers in general, I think it's a classification of employment that is just not looked upon as greatly as the service that they are providing.
The current state budget provided more than $600 million more in state aid to our K-12 schools.
Mm-hmm.
how well funded are our public schools? Do they need another big increase in the next state budget?
Yes, they do. When you look at in the beginning, say starting like with Act 10, the money that was taken out of public education, our governor totes it as, look at how much we put into public education. Well, it would be like, I use it as if I stole $10 from you and gave you $2 back and told you to be happy. Our K to 12 needs to be properly funded.
Your campaign website said voucher schools are not sustainable. What do what's your
so
position
many of
on
them are not accountable.
Accountable, okay.
Where public schools are accountable to everybody.
Would you end the voucher, the choice program then?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Public dollars need to be in public education.
The debate over whether we need a new state prison. 2 of our prisons were built in the 1800s. Some Democratic candidates for governor said if we refocused, we could cut the prison population in half.
We could.
We could. Does that mean you don't support a new state prison?
No, I do not. I have worked with the Wisdom Group and looking at mass incarceration, looking at treatment instead of prison in a lot of cases where people are put in. A lot of these are drug charges that have led to other charges. And I think as a state, we need to look at treatment more than we need to look at prisons.
Okay. The UW system budget, we've frozen resident undergraduate tuition for 6 years. The governor would like a freeze for the 7th and 8th year. Do you have your position?
No.
No.
There is, and I'm seeing my niece was one, and my neighbor's child is another, where they have then gone to other states for graduate programs, things like this. And once they do, they're offered employment there, they don't come back. We need to sustain education so that it is, keeping our young people here, wanting to employ our young people here, and that's what makes our communities great.
You have a part of your campaign website devoted to advocating for pets.
Yes, I do.
Can you talk about why that's such a strong issue with you?
Well, for one, I'm a pet owner and a pet lover. And I had come across where it was reduced that they kill animals in the shelter sooner. And I really think that we need to advocate for more adoption, things like this. And, I'm trying to think back because it's been a few years now where the kill rate was lowered. Mm-hmm. Say you went on vacation, your pet was missing, you don't have your pet chipped. That pet could be euthanized before you ever got home from vacation. And that is just so wrong. So, I don't think that our kennels are that overcrowded. They do shift amongst them that we need to, kill animals sooner. Not at all.
Part of it, you're calling for more fines. If someone's pet is harmed, they should get a lot more money from the person who harmed or killed their pet.
Yes.
They should.
Yes. Your pet is valuable as your child, is it not?
Do we need
it's a member of your family.
Do we need a state law on this, or is it a local issue?
I think we need a state law on it. I don't think we need to tolerate abuse to any kind of animals. None at all.
Many local governments are scheduling advisory referendums on whether we should legalize recreational marijuana, which also calls up the issue of medical marijuana. What's your position?
Marathon County will have it on the ballot for medical marijuana, and I fully support that. Fully. As far as for recreational use, I'm going to be very honest and say this campaign, I have not had the time to really fully look into it. I know there are lawsuits in Nebraska against Colorado for increased driving buzzed, things like this. I'd really like to look into it further before I would make a statement on if I would support or not support that.
Is there any other issue that is key to your campaign that I haven't asked you about?
Oh, let me think here.
We've talked about school aids. We've talked about your pets. Anything else that hasn't come up?
I think that just about covers.
Well, if so, then my last question is differences between you and your opponent on November 6th.
A huge difference is that I want to see government come back to the people, to work for the people, that the people are engaged in their government. I don't believe government should be all about providing dollars for big businesses and we wait for them to hopefully trickle down to people.
Okay. Very good. Nancy Stencil of Wausau is a Democratic candidate in the 86th Assembly District. The election is November 6th. Nancy, thank you for talking to WisconsinEye.
Thanks for having me in here again.
Thanks.
Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.